Dark and bizarre, bizarre and dark, dark and bizarre. You ain't leaving with all you brought, hopeless and helpless, chained to a wall. The blade's getting closer, the open grave calls. Why, oh why did I read those words? My damnation's infernal. I thought Joe couldn't steal my soul, but horror springs eternal.
Oh, my friends, what a show we have for you tonight. Holy guacamole. I don't think I added the closing credits. Gosh darn it. We'll have to. It's been crazy. It's been crazy in all of our lives here at Retro Trekkers. So let's get started and we'll talk about it as we go. Here we go.
Retro Trekkers. Get down with the retro Trekkers. Capt'n John and Commander Joe. Retro Trekkers. We love our Star Trek. Retro Trekkers. The nerd muscles get the facts. Retro Trekkers. Get down with the retro Trekkers. Let's get it done.
Start flexing those nerd muscles, you nerd. And hey, it is a real pleasure to do this show tonight. And of course, I don't do it alone. Tonight, I can see him. I can see him in my preview window. He is ready to go, folks. Will you welcome aboard the bridge of SB80? It is Commander Joe Townsell.
Oh, flexing my nerd muscles for you, Capt'n John. Isn't that pitiful? I will never be a John Weber or an Eric Kramer, but you know what? And especially with the glasses, but I do my best. And I got to tell you, when I see that theme song opening the show after your intro, I could be in the pissiest, grumpiest mood. I'm just going to come right out of it because I'm getting ready to have some Retro Trekkers time.
Amen. Amen. This is the place where it is wonderful to be a nerd. And let me tell you, nerds are the VIP section here on SB80. That is 100% true. Our big, burly, famous guy nerd right now, Eric Kramer, could not make it tonight. He sends his apologies. He's working on a movie, and that's all I can tell you. That's all I can tell you. He's working on a movie, which is a thrill. And of course, we all wish him the best.
Of course.
And want him to do many more of them. So, hey, if we're the reason he gets booked, because the fates don't want him to do our show, well, then that makes us perfect. That is exactly what we want.
And despite his absence tonight, Captain, I have a feeling that Eric will make his thoughts known about tonight's episode somehow, some way, sometime. So
I hope so. I hope so. Chris, Scott, and our good friend Raphael are very, very funny in the comments right now. If anybody's watching and wants to join the chat, please do. And tonight, Mr. Kramer,
you really miss Eric, don't you, John? I do too.
Mr. Townsell, what a show we have tonight. How would you describe this show to the average person who is just kind of knows Star Trek but hasn't watched it? And by that I mean Raphael.
Well, this, you don't need a lot of Star Trek knowledge to enjoy this episode, which is definitely a plus. Star Trek over the decades has, they're not excelling at comedy and at horror and things of that nature. But this gets us about as close to just really great effective horror as something like Trek ever does. And I think it's definitely a winner. And you're going to find that out for tonight, I think.
It is a like the guys are just going crazy. There is a very funny. Oh, there's a lot of great stuff that Scott said so far because he watched this episode. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
He says, "Is the regular cast always so wooden?" And then, of course, Chris says, "I wouldn't know." But Raphael says, "Hey, I owned a Voyager Christmas ornament." Yes, that counts.
Yes, of course.
Absolutely. Yes, this one's an unusual one. It really is. And then in some ways, I'm going to argue it's not that unusual. And I'm going to do that right now.
All right.
All right, let's talk about this episode. This episode is called The Thaw. It came up in season 2, and it is the 23rd episode of season 2, a season, I believe, I'm going to take a quick look. Yes, it had 26 episodes this season. The episode right after this one is Tuvix, and it's really unusual. What a strong following, what a strong end of the season they had on Voyager season 2. And part of that was the people they brought in. They were working with people they had worked with before. The director on this one is Marvin Rush. Marvin Rush is mostly a cinematographer. And had won many awards for his Star Trek Next Generation and his DS9 work. And so bringing him in to direct this one was really interesting that they got a cinematographer, because clearly there are strong visuals in this one. But as you're going to find out, Marvin Rush added a lot to this episode, and my hat is off to him. I think he played a really important role in this one. But it is written story was by a writer named Richard Gatiss, but the teleplay, the actual script, was by Joe Menosky. Joe Menosky is a legend. Joe Menosky has written so many great episodes. For TNG, he wrote Darmok.
Great.
He wrote Time's Arrow. He wrote The Chase, which is one of my favorites. He wrote that along with Ronald D. Moore. He is a big co-writer. So, a lot of great people wrote alongside him. Time's Orphan in DS9. He wrote that one. He wrote Rivals for DS9. He would go on to be a producer and story editor at Voyager after this episode. They made him a permanent addition to the Voyager team for season 3. And a lot of shows that we have already done here, including Night from Voyager, Scorpion. We did that way back when. Just so many episodes have his co-writing credit on them. And this team was a great team. I think that's pretty much all I have for the Genesis.
Well, the only thing I would add is that, as you're saying already, John, is that this writing team produced a number of really solid, intriguing, and entertaining episodes. Not what most people would consider classics.
Yeah.
You don't go running to a lot of these, I haven't seen that one,
right,
like Mirror Mirror or something like that. But yeah, I mean, just by and large, just a really great body of work within the Star Trek universe.
One of the things that I'm going to say now, and maybe I should even save it for later, because I think it's one of my thoughts always about Voyager, is they have great talent, but they have so much of it.
Mhm.
And it kind of crowds the show, and you get observations like they all seem very wooden. Yeah, because there's too many of them.
Mhm.
But we'll get into that as we go, because now that we've got the genesis out of the way, it is time for the jewel in the crown of retro trekkers, the thing that brings the people in from the farms and the counties surrounding. Wake the kids, get your neighbors. It's time for
Indeed. Oh, what an intro. Thank you, John.
Absolutely, my friend. You have outdone yourself with this one. So let's get to it.
Fear a clown, fear a clown. All the world fears a clown. Face your fears as the retro trekkers send in a most unusual clown. Surrender now to the Thaw from Star Trek Voyager. Lamest teaser ever. Kim is practicing his clarinet in a filler scene cut from an earlier Q episode called Death Wish. I mean, what does this have to do with either episode? One thing's for sure, Kim's neighbor keeps banging on the wall. I guess no one bothered to soundproof the bulkheads. Well, so much for tolerance in the 24th century. Voyager visits a decimated world ravaged by solar flares. But there used to be a trading post and a country cooking restaurant here. This from Neelix, who is quite befuddled. Way to keep your maps current, dude. Anyways, there's no signs of life below, so looks like there will be no bartering or eating chicken fried steak today.
Oh, man.
Ah, but hold the phone. An automated signal hails Voyager. It's a pre-recorded message from Verosa, a native of the coal settlement. Turns out that he and some of his colleagues have been in hibernation for 19 years. They were scheduled to rise and shine after 15 years. So why are they still in Slumberland? Regardless, it turns out that Voyager's timing was fortuitous after all. Oh, wait a sec, Captain. We are detecting faint life signs far beneath the surface. Tuvok locks onto 5 pods to beam them up. One of those pods contains an evil, hibernating dictator from the eugenics wars of the 1990s. Haha, just kidding. But 2 of the coal in the pods are dead. That's a bummer. Turns out they croaked from heart failure. But the other 3 are showing brain activity, which doesn't jive with being in suspended animation. And it looks like they're having a pretty restless snooze. After some further head scratching, the Voyager crew realizes that the 3 coal are in some kind of virtual reality simulation. The artificial dream world keeps them occupied while they're sleeping. In theory, they can awaken at any time. The planet is safe to occupy now. But for some reason, they have chosen or are prevented from coming out of their trance. The Holodoctor can't pull them out without risking serious brain damage. In Harry's case, it may result in a lobotomy, but he may be able to play the clarinet a little better. This mechanism was programmed to only allow voluntary revival. A forced exit from the nightmare realm will be very bad indeed, despite the potential improvement to Kim's musical ability. Time for Kim and Taurus to enter the simulation using the 2 sleep pods vacated by the 2 dead coal folks. A very creepy first contact is nigh. Taurus and Kim find themselves in the midst of a miniature Mardi Gras, populated with partiers in costumes and masks and makeup. Oh my! Enter the weirdo in charge, whose only moniker is the Clown, aka Lenny. Hello!
Hello.
His face is painted with drab white and gray paint, but his evil smile is disarming and disquieting. Somehow, El Payaso is already acquainted with the perpetual ensign and Klingon engineer. The clown introduces the Voyager duo to his partner, Squiggy. Again, just kidding.
Oh,
Hey, it's been a while since we've had a beheading. And I have just the insane clown posse to operate the guillotine. Come along, Ensign Kim. Time to have your noggin chopped off.
I see P
Well, thank goodness DeRosa and his fellow Cole show up. Hey, Mr. Clown, if you kill these two now, their captain may just order the whole simulation deactivated. Well, the clown accepts that logic, smiles, and shrugs. Well, fine, I'll just kill them later. The clown is holding the Cole captive as their real bodies hibernate in the real world. He beheaded the other two inside the simulation, proving the theory that if you die in your dreams, you'll croak for real. So, Kim and Doris, if you try to leave, I'll just kill these remaining Cole. The clown is very curious as to what everyone is thinking. Pennywise for your thoughts. They don't know which is worse, the clown's sadism or his really bad jokes. Meanwhile, Janeway orders Kes to revive Taurus and Kim, all nestled snug in their pods. But Kim shuts down Kes's attempt from inside the simulation. Well, good for you, Kim. While you're at it, shut down the revival mechanism too. Just a reminder, Mr. Clown. If I do that, the captain will probably shut down the whole shebang. Then, if everyone suddenly leaves the simulation, you, my friend the clown, will wither and die for lack of souls to terrify and torture. And once again, the clown is convinced to keep the status quo. Hey, important discovery. Turns out the simulation is adaptive, as well as being tethered to the psyches of the Cole. The clown himself is a manifestation of their fears of dying, of the planetary catastrophe, or of other horrible disasters. Worse, the clown can read their minds. But at least there seems to be a delay between what one of the prisoners think and when the clown makes it a horrifying reality. Despite getting his jollies tormenting a Klingon, the clown decides to let Taurus leave to deliver a message to Janeway. He has one simple threat. If you shut down the simulation, Harry Kim dies. Well, how the heck can we negotiate with a manifestation of fear and terror? My goodness, where's Deanna Troi when you need her? While the bestest and brightest on Voyager try to decide what the heck to do, the clown torments Kim for contemplating escape. Wrong thinking will be punished. Correct thinking will be just as quickly rewarded. Yeah, right. Who is this guy, a Telosian? The clown has long since beaten down the cold resistance, and they're resigned to indefinite captivity. On the other hand, Kim is a newbie to clown world, and hasn't lost his defiance. You know what? You got spunk. I hate spunk. Well, before you can say bozo, a bunch of weirdos wearing freaky masks strap down Harry to administer his punishment. To punish Kim for his obstinance, the clown puts the lowly ensign through hell on Earth, or whatever planet this is. First, Lenny the clown transports Kim to an old fart. Then he de-ages him back to a cute little baby boy. Both ages where Kim feels the most helpless. Next, Harry is forced to relive a traumatic hospital experience from his youth. That memory concerns a surgery on a little girl. The clown holds a lethal-looking scalpel, ready to slice and dice into Harry. Harry's scream rivals Chekhov's when Khan put that ugly bug into his ear. Then it gets really strange. the clown's recollection of the surgery is interrupted by the EMH, who shows him how to wield the scalpel properly. How bizarre. In actuality, the holodoc has been sent into the simulation to negotiate. He is the perfect choice, since he doesn't have an organic brain for the clown to read or exploit. You know, why didn't we just send the doc into the simulation in the first place?
Yeah, right.
Well, here's the deal. Janeway has offered to create an artificial brain that will sustain the clown. Now, despite how persuasive the doc is, Kim's thoughts betray him as the clown reads his mind and senses doubt. The skeptical, mistrustful clown decides this is not the deal for him. Not only that, but Kim's failure to clear his mind has summoned the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Or, as Spock would call him, the Stay Puft Marshmelon Man. Again, just kidding, folks.
No kidding.
Rosa makes a desperate attempt to sell Janeway's plan, claiming it can be done by adjusting the optronic relays, or some other techno-babble trickery. The clown ain't buying it. Begone, Hollow Doctor! The EMH skedaddles after making a seemingly empty promise to Kim. I'll be back.
Oh, God.
Isn't he a prick? He sure got a pair. Trapped in his clown world. Prisoners in his lair. Send out this clown. Janeway does need to send out this clown, and fast. But how? Well, that clever Verosa was actually sending her a hint. The optronic relays won't actually create an artificial brain. When Torres examines them further, she discovers that she can manually shut down the simulation, but only one piece at a time. Alas, there's still another act left in this episode, so of course, this plan will take time. During this race against the clock, the clown may figure out what she's up to. And this clown ain't no dummy, despite the fact that he used to be Lenny. Janeway concludes, well, what choice do we have? Make it so, or execute, or whatever. Just get it done already. Chakotay, write me a catchphrase. Torres starts disabling the relays, which causes various simulated characters to suddenly disappear. Ruh-roh! The clown's chief lackey notices the minions are vanishing before Torres can finish. This was your scheme, Verosa. There's never been a better time for a beheading. The clown chops off Verosa's melon, causing his real body to die. Horrified, Janeway orders Torres to restore the relay she disabled before anyone else is killed. The EMH returns to the simulation. It's Fat Tuesday again, and everyone is getting down. Despite the festivities, the clown reassures Kim that he will eventually be punished for his part in attempting the simulation shutdown. Get your neck ready, Ensign Kim. But in the meantime, be my BFF. I'm just wild about Harry, and Harry wants to kill me. Janeway has given the clown an ultimatum. The Mirthmaker mocks her. I'm laughing at the superior intellect and your empty threats. But the captain still has control of the off switch. The holodoc conveys Janeway's ultimatum. The clown has 1 minute to let everyone leave. If he refuses, Janeway will turn off the simulation, regardless of the risk of those trapped inside. But how about a hostage exchange? If the clown does allow everyone to leave, Janeway herself will enter the simulation, thus providing him with an organic brain for him to toy with for all time. Now, how about that for a deal, clown? This guy will always be a lowly ensign, but now you'll have a captain to kick around. Well, the clown is delighted to accept the deal, so Janeway climbs into the pod. A moment later, Janeway appears inside the simulation. The clown senses Janeway's mind entering the Matrix. He can't read her thoughts quite yet, but that's normal. So, no trickery here, right? I've got you now, my pretty. For a moment, the clown is tempted to renege on the deal and keep Kim and the two co-prisoners inside the simulation. But he doesn't want to mess up the deal and lets them go. His only regret? It's another 2 seasons before 7 of 9 shows up. Now, if she was aboard Voyager, the clown would have insisted on her being his captive instead. Resistance would be futile. Kim promises to find a way to rescue Janeway. The captain assures him that won't be necessary and gives him a sly wink. The clown rolls his eyes. It hasn't dawned on him just yet what is coming momentarily.
Ooh.
Well, now the hostages are gone. The only real person remaining is Janeway. Or is she? Nope. It's Hollow Janeway. The fake captain explains that she's not the real deal. Yes, Janeway was hooked up in the pod. This way, the clown would sense her brain patterns, but the real Janeway was not actually inserted into the simulation. With no organic brain on which to feed, the simulation starts to vanish. Fade to black. Suck it, clown. Be afraid. Be very afraid. He admits in a humbled, frightened tone that he's scared. Janeway's response is chilling. I know. She reminds the fading clown that there is nothing to fear but fear itself, and it exists to be defeated. The clown's last comment. Drat! I would have gotten away with it if it hadn't been for you meddling Voyagers.
My goodness.
And there you go.
John Weber, I have to get this in right now. At least half, if not more, of this is the music. You created the best soundtrack this week. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We got some very nice stuff out of the robot this week.
I mean, the robot definitely could. I could learn lessons to the robot, instead of trying to actually sing, which I tortured everybody with 3 times this week. So sorry.
It was. I love all the bases you touched. I love all the talent you uncorked. I love the Bugs Bunny / Daffy Duck quality of your woohoo, woohoo, woohoo all over the place. It was, yes, I agree very much with Raphael. Thunderous applause for this one.
Thank you, everybody.
What a fantastic beats this. And I gotta say, I mean, I like this episode a lot, but I like the beats a lot. That's a big. Well, let's move on. Let's move on. You definitely want to talk to this. Get to the down and the dirty. Yes, I totally agree. I totally agree with Scott here and with everybody else. That was a really well done summary of this episode. And this is an episode that if you go back, and I hope you do one of these days, and find the Starbase 80 that Flobo and I did. Actually, it is one of the least watched videos at Weber Internet.
Oh.
Which is one of the reasons why we did it again, because so few people have seen it. But it was also part of a series that I was doing. I wanted to see if I could find an episode that Flobo would like that had to do with holograms. Holodeck, Holosuite,
Something.
Holler at your boy, all of it. I tried this one, and the way I remember it, and Flobo, I hope you see this. I remember Flobo doing this. Because he did not like this episode that much. And this to me, and I've told you this, Joe, of course, but I think of this honestly as my favorite Voyager episode.
That's saying a lot because there's a, despite what people's mixed feelings about the series, there's a lot of good episodes in Voyager, undeniably. And to put this at the very top of your list, John, that's high praise.
Thank you, sir. I think I think you're right, because this is a great example of them going, you know what? Get Monosky, get Joe Monosky in here. And just a real strong set of episodes at the end of season 2, which is extremely unusual for a Star Trek show.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter which Trek show you look at, season 2 is usually pretty raggedy. This one had a lot of good experiments, a lot of good directions they were trying to go in. What did you find really jumps out for you in this episode, Joe?
Well, to answer that partially, I want to address earlier comments about the cast being wooden. Now, there's two things at play here. Number one, Star Trek can never fully achieve genuine horror or other life-changing aspects because they are continuing characters.
Right.
They have to be largely unchanged week to week, except over the course of the long haul.
Right.
So within those limitations, I think the subdued performances, I'll use that word versus wooden, came across as more chilling, which I think served the episode.
Yeah.
Served the horror theme. And this is a horror story. I mean, if we didn't say the word enough so far, the episode is all about fear.
Mm-hmm.
And going all the way back to the cage, I mean, fear of captivity can be truly paralyzing for a lot of people. I mean, nobody wants to be in this position.
Right.
Plus, it's just insane. I'm not talking about the insane clown posse, but insane generally. And claustrophobic because it's just jam full of these weird creatures. And
yeah,
it's a nightmare that's just ongoing, perpetual. So what jumped out at me is really the sheer effectiveness of the horror and the scare tactics, as it were.
Yeah.
Telling the story.
I'm going to jump because I did promise I was going to do a rant about that first episode.
Oh,
and this is kind of down and dirty. So, and as you pointed out, Joe, the cold open, which is an art form in Star Trek, an art form in the original series. Those cold open, I wish Eric was here to take this rant from me, because he would bellow it. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Lord. What a terrible cold open. What a or teaser, as Joe correctly put it, because that's what they would call it when you would write it.
Either, yeah, sure.
Okay, so what they cover, a couple of things. I don't know when this was made that the tiger mom forces the Asian child to study a musical instrument. I don't know that was such a cliche, so I'll give them that. That's not something we're going to go over. Even though we never meet Harry Kim's mom, she is, large in his life, and that's fine. Characters have stuff like that. Here's what bothered me. The explanation for why there's no sound proofing in the walls is said by Tom Paris, which is, well, this is a battleship, and battleships were not built for comfort or for living quarters or anything like that. And I go, wait a minute. It's a battleship not built for exploration. It's a battleship not built for exploration, and it's called Voyager.
Well, not to mention which that if it's just a battleship, if it's a submarine in space, why don't they stack them 3 high in cots like we saw in Star Trek 6 on the Excelsior, for example? Maybe that was the Enterprise. It's just like this is an exploratory ship too. So get over it, Tom.
It's so dumb to say, yeah, it was a battle cruiser. Well, that's awesome. It's a battle cruiser, and it is a beautiful ship. I have always loved that ship of the Voyager. But it's not built for exploration. It's called the anyway. Getting more to the episode here. Let me pitch it to you, and you tell me how Star Trek is this. All right, I want to hear this from everybody. That's funny. Scott says maybe they named it after Voyager.
The chicken and the egg.
Okay, so our crew finds a planet. The planet presents a mystery. What's going on here? What happened? Their science tells them certain things, but their sensor readings tell them something different. They eventually get an idea that there's some sort of mystery here, and they intervene. Interestingly enough, they do not go down to the planet. They bring the apparatus that has the survivors of this planet into a cargo bay. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Then they find that there's a world within this rig. It's so funny that they didn't say it was virtual reality, which is, I mean, they could have just said that. Oh, it's VR. Oh, VR. Yeah, sure. It's a world within itself. It's a small, maybe mentally they're hooked into the. You guys have seen all this stuff before. That is so.
I mean, was virtual? Was that a term that was in common use back in the 90s?
It was.
Okay, yeah.
VR Rangers was a children's show.
Oh, okay.
There were shows that made it to air that were about virtual reality. There was a famous episode of X-Files that had virtual reality.
Okay.
There it was a thing. It's so interesting that they don't ever bring it up.
Maybe in the 24th century, the VR is an outdated term.
I'm sure that can be argued. That makes a lot of sense to me. But they're explaining it to a UPN audience, so maybe they feel like they've got to really break it down because this is an audience that loves God, what else was on UPN at the time? Nowhere Man, Platypus Man,
Homeboys.
Homeboys in Outer Space.
Yes, sir.
So they go into this world, and this world is very strange and very small and contained, which makes a lot of sense. It was built for 6 people, 5 people. I can't remember how many pods there were. 5, I believe.
5.
Yeah. And yeah, that's right. I remember watching this show, VR5, with Laurie Singer, who was amazing in Warlock. And it was on Fox, and I believe the big bad guy on that one was Adam Baldwin.
Wasn't that a woman's hair conditioner? Oh, I'm sorry, that's a VO5. Never mind. Man, that's dating myself.
Good Lord. So they go into this weird world. They have to figure out what it is. And it's got the it's got a weird theatricality to it. And it's got a guy who's sort of running things, and he's very evil, and he just gets more evil. And so here's what I'm leading up to. This is classic Star Trek.
Well, sure.
This sort of thing happens a lot in Star Trek. And I actually really dig that. I really like that about this episode. If Eric was here, I would definitely be, putting pressure on him to admit that this whole setup it could have happened in the original series. Am I wrong?
Again, harkening back to the Cage and other examples of captivity, but I think what makes this one unique in this approach is that Kim's and Taurus's expectations of rationality and reason work against them, because the clown, he doesn't do anything other than what he's designed to do. Yeah. And that's torment them.
Yeah.
But they have to, they don't really, realize it or accept it until pretty much, Kim's head is on the chopping block.
Right. And I like that too. I like that, like, discovery in real time. That's really cool. The fact that they're not, hey, this is an evil clown episode. Like, hang on, I'm looking up evil clowns. Oh yeah, we've run into this before. Like, there's something there's something very classic. There's a mystery here. And there's a problem, and every time you try to solve the problem, it just gets worse. And that reminds me so much of TNG, the puzzles.
Mhm.
They have to think their way out of this puzzle. And there are certain things that they do that surprised me. The presence of the Doctor, that I didn't see that coming, which was so awesome. It also,
because this is well before his ability with his mobile emitter to appear outside his sickbay. We saw evidence of this by him being on the view screen when they have their conference.
That's right. And that is also shown by how heavily Kes is used as the Doctor on site. But that, I kind of like how that worked too. I always liked that for Kes, that she had a use, that she could be a doctor. That later, when the actress was gone, they made Tom Paris become a doctor too. He's an amazing pilot and a shipbuilder and a doctor and whatever else we need him to be. Hand him a trombone, somebody. So I really like the whole plot. I like the whole setup. That works for me. Does it not work for anybody? Am I wrong here? Is it taking us off the path? What's going on here for you, Joe?
Well, I mean, as others have already stated, I mean, maybe the performance is a little off for some people's taste. I found them to be definitely adequate for the story being told. No, nothing rang false. I mean, again, I think that the crew of the Voyager or any, 24th century starship is not going to necessarily expect these things, although they do encounter strange things every week. So maybe there's not that validity to my argument. But yeah, I mean, it's just it. And I gotta say, one of the most effective elements for me was the ending. We didn't defeat the clown, then we end up with a little epilogue where everyone's happy and joking on the bridge. No, this thing ended with the clown fading from existence, and fake Janeway's, I know. It's like, oh boy. No sympathy there.
Which I think is another great detail, because that is an aspect of Janeway's personality, which is she really will, like, do the get off my plane from Air Force One. Like, she will kick the bad guy into space. Like, she's done it before. She will do it again. Scott says, a scary episode where no one screams. Chris says, you can't hear screams in space.
Well, don't forget, I mean, Harry Kim, when finally pushed to the limit, he let out a pretty blood-curdling scream.
He did. Now, I have to find this. All right. I think I can find this, because there was a little screen share I wanted to do.
While you're looking, I'll comment quickly that this draws comparisons to me also with, admittedly, with season 1 of DS9, but Move Along Home. I mean, they're very similar. Yeah, that episode sucked, and this one didn't. So we learned some. I think we learned some lessons from that. I mean, of course, DS9 went on to become the superior series. I think that's generally agreed upon. But yeah, I mean, there was no sense of jeopardy, no sense of fear or anxiety in Move Along Home. This definitely did.
What was the episode of the original series where they basically do the improv show? They do the is that I Mud? There's the
yeah, right, I Mud. They're trying to short circuit the androids thinking. That's the one.
And so there's this like weird circusy behavior. Yeah. Like but that to me just goes, yeah, that just makes this more Star Trek. I just wanted to point out this. I don't think this is Michael Westmoreland. I think this is actually the prop guy. But of
God,
course,
look at
there's baby Harry.
Look at that. Oh, fake. Oh, now I'm really creeped out. Look at that.
I just the props alone on this one. Props to the props. What else might we dig out on this one? I felt well, okay. I think it's actually time to run to the next one because I got some.
Okay.
Let's talk about who is your MVP for this episode. I want to hear from anybody and everybody, but I especially want to hear from you, Mr. Townsville. Who's your MVP for this one?
Well, John, I suspect I might know who you picked for yours, and you tend to quite appropriately pick behind-the-scenes folks, writers, directors, and the great, very talented individuals that put it together. So I'll stick with the character and the performance, and I got to give it to the clown. I mean, there will be no episode without the clown. And Michael McKean, my goodness. I mean, yeah, of course, I made fun of the fact that he played Lenny once upon a time,
Right.
but there was no Lenny here. I mean, this was a unique creation on his part as far as bringing that character to life.
Yeah.
And just that nonstop, except occasionally when he felt a little threatened,
Yeah.
that jovial, sadistic laugh, and just, hey, let's come on over to the guillotine. Oh my goodness. So yes, I have to give it to Michael McKean and his portrayal of the clown.
I again, I wish Kramer was here because this is something that actors dream about. An actor dreams about maybe when you're older and you've played some roles and you're known for some stuff, but you're not getting the same scripts that Jack Nicholson gets. You're not getting Robin Williams scripts even.
Yeah.
You're not getting many scripts at all. And when you're someone like Michael McKean who has gone so far, he's been in so many movies. He's worked for Christopher Guest in Christopher Guest movies. He is so incredibly well-traveled, but not someone who had the big roles.
Right.
Specifically, playing someone like the Joker in the Batman movie. So they had always been talking about doing a Batman movie, and I had heard over and over again, I don't know about any of you guys or you, Joe, but I had always heard that, Robin Williams is going to be the Joker. Oh, it's got to be Robin Williams. He's wild. He's crazy. And of course it was Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson did a crazy job doing that, chewed all the scenery. It was really pretty good. I mean, honestly, I like lots of Jokers. I liked his too. By the time you're Michael McKean making this episode, and this episode was it aired in 1996. I don't know that McKean knows what he's going to be doing in the future. I think at this point he's played that role. It's a recurring role in the X-Files, not only the series, but in the universe, where he's a man in black, which is very funny. And he plays a nice bastard character in that. Of course, later in Breaking Bad, when he's playing Jimmy's older brother, he is just incredible, just absolutely incredible. But in between was this role. And I feel, especially as you go through the episode, I feel like you're seeing what he would do if he got to play the Joker. What he would do, if he was a Bond villain or, in this case, more a Wild Wild West villain, maybe. I'd forgotten that McKean was in Coneheads. That's right. He was the villain.
Oh, well, I mean, and another thing that I loved, and it's now available, I think, on Tubi or one of the other free streamers. Do you remember the series Dream On, one of HBO's first original comedies?
My God, yes, right, with Brian Benben.
Exactly. He played for most of it a recurring role as Martin's boss at the publishing house. And he was just a real, sorry for the word, but a real asshole in that. He to great effect, great humor.
He was Australian, wasn't he?
He was in Australia. He was an Aussie, and I'm sorry if someone wants to look it up, but I forget the character's name. But yeah, he was great. Like I said, every character, every performance, pretty much puts you out of the mind of any other ones that he's done because you're focused on what he's doing right now, what you're seeing right now.
Yes, and I absolutely loved his work in this. So I totally agree with you.
Mhm.
And I do have to say, you're right. I did have a choice, and it was unusual, and so I was gonna go with the busty little person, Patty Maloney. Patty Maloney was she played Honk in Far Out Space Nuts.
Oh, God. I didn't know that.
Dude, Patty Maloney was Tweaky.
She was Tweaky?
She was Tweaky.
You mean the voice? Because Felix Silva was the guy, right?
Yeah, she played Tweaky in 3 episodes of the series Buck Rogers in the 25th Century.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She's one of the few actors who worked on both Star Trek and Star Wars. And in the Star Wars holiday special, she played Lumpy.
Lumpy.
3 feet 11 inches in height. And she was great in this. She was just fantastic. But I'm not sure she's my choice. I'm going to give you my choice. I have made this. Oh, hey, look what Raphael dug up. Dream On is
Roku
on
channel.
Roku channel.
Yeah.
And Scott, absolutely, yes, that's right. Michael McKean played Perry White on Smallville. Oh, just so good, so good. Okay, here's my choice for the week.
Here we go.
My choice for the week is Kate Mulgrew.
Oh,
Kate Mulgrew is my MVP for 2 reasons. One, she plays Captain Janeway, classic Janeway.
mm-hmm.
But in the last scene,
Mm-hmm.
she plays a hologram version of Janeway. Now, for an actor to take their character that they've played now, she's played this character for almost 2 years at this point, and to go, yes, but this is a hologram version. And I believe the way she describes it is that was programmed just to interact with you,
Right.
being the clown. So it's not a full 3-dimensional Janeway. It's a very specific Janeway bot. And she created that character. And the everything she says and does is one facet of Janeway, but only one. And that is freaking brilliance. That is great acting right there. So big ups for AI Janeway.
Well, and to serve that point, John, I mean, you didn't know it wasn't the real Janeway at first, not even in the first couple minutes that she appears on screen. So the reveal, I think, is just as shocking to us as was to the clown.
She didn't have to create a whole new version of Janeway. She didn't have to. She could have just been her.
Yeah.
But that's not what she did. And I dare anyone to go back and watch the scenes of that Janeway again, because I think you're going to see there are certain things that character doesn't know. There are certain things that character is not motivated by, because she is not Janeway. She is an AI version of Janeway. And that's the kind of work you don't have to do, but you do it because you're a goddamn genius.
Well, she's a goddamn genius also because she kept the surprise, even though we had the huge hint of the Doctor appearing in the realm 3 times.
Yes, we knew it could happen. And I was surprised by it. And I got to tell you, I've seen this episode many times, and I was surprised by the doctor coming in, and I was surprised by Janeway, because for some reason I didn't remember that. But I have to go to what Scott says, because he's been working on this idea in our conversation, and I think he's got something.
Ooh.
He says it was a bit of a turn on, frankly. And I go, yes, it was. It definitely was. And earlier he had mentioned that he felt there was a kind of an S&M, that she was a dominatrix to the clown, whether the clown knew it or not. And that, I mean, at that point, it's only the clown. The clown is the only personality that is keeping the circus place running. And that was just so good. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Kate Mulgrew was very funny in Remo Williams, and Fred Ward was great in it too.
Of course.
Let's not talk about Joel Grey.
But another aspect, and there's another hint here, which is very subtle. I used the line in the beats, but it was also in the episode. Nothing to fear but fear itself.
Yes.
In the story, the clown is fear, literally.
Right.
So once he's vanquished, there's nothing to fear.
I loved that, and I love what Scott's saying here, because that is how it tied up. And I wouldn't say tied up neatly, because it was a very sad and upsetting. I mean, as much as I did not like the clown character, I definitely felt his loneliness and his fear as he was being vanquished.
Yes.
And that was beautiful. I also want to say, I think that scene is worth watching if you ever want to understand an actor, because what I saw in Michael McKean's performance is he's got this character and he's working with this makeup, and he's got the thing on his forehead, and he's got the costume, which looked kind of like a blue meanie to me, but am I just a hippie? But he's got all of this stuff going on, and then in order to relay the fear of knowing he's going to die, knowing that this is it, what does Michael McKean do? He does nothing. He drops all the artifice, and he gives you the most honest couple of seconds. Just, there are moments in acting where all you have to do is tell the truth. And having been a stage actor, I learned that again, because a lot of times working on camera, you're working for the camera, you're working with the lights, you're working with the costumes and the other actors, and very aiming it into the lens, but there are some moments where you just drop it all and you just honestly portray a feeling. And in this case, it's fear, feeling fear. Love that. Hey, we got a couple of more fun things to do.
Oh boy.
We got some good tidbits in this one, don't we, Joe?
Absolutely. I got a few right here, courtesy of IMDb, and actually a couple of my own observations. The first of which is this. Now, I could be wrong. I will count on our audience to correct me if I am. But again, John, help me out here. The name of the lovely little lady that we're talking about this evening?
Patty Maloney.
Thank you. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe she is one of 2 Star Trek characters in all the franchise, and the very first, chronologically, that used the word poop. The other, of course, being good old Trip from Enterprise a few years later. If anyone can think of another instance of the word poop, please let me know.
Oh God. Oh boy. Okay, that's a Townsville tidbit exclusive. You're right.
I think I am.
Although
I think I
Poop
am.
was used in season 1 of Sequest. So,
Okay, so it caught up.
I mean, it had been done, but still, in the Star Trek world, that is a big deal.
Well, and and historically, I mean, Sequest makes a lot more sense, as it did in Enterprise, because that was the 22nd century. But way in the 21st century, the fact that the word poop still exists, as John would put it, mwah.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. I love that Patty Maloney's character is who's called Little Woman.
Mhm.
She's the character, one of the two characters who talks to the clown. The other one is that big, like, "Rah, rah, rah," kind of. I love that guy too. He's very scary and cool. Raphael says, "Now that's a Star Trek nugget." Scott says, "You don't get that in Star Wars."
No mention of poop in Star Wars. No, sir.
There's Furball Carb in
There's
Purple-
Bantha Poodoo.
Look at us. Oh, all
What
right.
else we got here?
What
Now
else
going
we
back
got?
to the experts at IMDb. I thought this was really cool, and it comments on to the effectiveness of the episode.
Yeah.
The choice of makeup for the clown character, all gray and
Yeah.
white, no
Yes.
color, meant to kind of illustrate brain matter and the fact that he is in your brain and twisting it to his delight. So I thought that was just a inspired, makeup choice and appearance.
That is terrific. That is fantastic.
Yeah,
I'd like to throw one in there.
let's do it.
Marvin Rush. Marvin Rush was a great choice for this because he was a cinematographer. And one of the things that he did was he would do unusual flat colors on a wall behind the characters, which was something that was done in the original series many, many times. And so you actually get quite a few shots that look like they are from TOS because they're shot in that same beautiful way. Big close up with, just colors behind them and lots of interesting shading in the foreground and the background. So that was definitely something that Marvin Rush was looking for.
Yeah, and not to mention the characters that, inhabited the lair.
Yes.
So he basically is a stark contrast as the leader to everybody in there. So
right.
Yeah.
He is colorless, whereas they are so colorful.
Right. Exactly.
Every time I've watched it, I'm like, oh God, look, it's dollar store Cirque du Soleil. Turns out, actually, those people were from Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah, that would make sense.
They hired a lot of Cirque du Soleil performers to be in that little circusy world. That's awesome.
Now, John, the character you refer to as, that guy?
Yeah.
Named the Spectre and played by, I'm going to get his name right, Carol Strukian. I'm massacring the name, forgive me. But better known to Star Trek fans as Mr. Home.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh, wow. So he was the assistant to Lwaxana,
right?
Troy's mother. Oh, that's
right.
awesome. That is
gave Jordo Picard that big heavy bag.
That is so cool. I love that so much.
Now, as alluded to in the beats, but I'm going to just make it an official tidbit anyway.
Yeah.
The teaser was in fact filmed for Death Wish 4 or 5 episodes prior. Man, they should just toss it out. I mean, it had nothing to do with nobody or nowhere. And it's a shame. I mean, you can see why they removed it from Death Wish, because they needed that screen time. They needed it here too. We could have used those 4 or 5 minutes for this story.
Right.
Just to build the dread, if nothing else. So
yeah. I'm sorry I laughed. There was something Chris said, never said, but the food replicators have to get their molecules from somewhere. why is this always so controversial? Yeah, their waste system goes into the replicators. The
Mhm.
replicators rearrange the molecules. Yeah, they're eating poop. Yeah, they are.
Well,
Come
you
on.
recycle poop and urine. I mean, that's the wave of that future at any rate. And yeah, Neelix is always looking for fresh produce, throughout the galaxy, but they got to
That's
survive in the meantime.
That's true, actually. That might have been one of the smartest things that Neelix ever did was like, you know what? Let's go vegetarian.
Yeah.
We can grow our food. Scott, you are so right. I absolutely think of that big guy character, Sweetums from the Muppet Show.
Yeah.
I have another Marvin Rush piece of trivia.
Oh.
Marvin actually added dialogue at the end. He got it cleared through Brannon Braga and Michael Piller. He said, we're making Fear the bad guy, but Fear is not always such a bad thing.
No.
Fear is a teacher, and Fear needs to be overcome. Fear is a protector. And so those lines that are said by Janeway were written by Marvin Rush. What a talented dude.
Yeah. Yeah, she did say that Fear needed to be defeated, not vanquished, as we've put it, not the total eradication, but it needs to be controlled.
Mm.
And I think that was definitely the message I got from those final lines of the episode.
Yeah, because Janeway's at a certain place. Janeway is. You could say, oh, she's in control, and there's a certain level of cruelty, little bit of dominatrix there, maybe. I could definitely see that, but she's at a different place. She's not afraid of Fear, and she has that great line of Federation captains learn to work with Fear. And that's really oh my God. There are things going on in the chat that I was like, oh, should I put that on the I'm not putting that on the screen. So yeah, I'd have to say this to me really holds up. I mean, I watched it, I think last night I watched it. That's got to be for the 6th or 7th time.
Oh, same for me.
And I just really enjoyed it all over again. Just a great episode. Hey, let's talk about next week. Next week, what are we watching? And Mr. Dowsel.
Well, next week we are going to Enterprise, and we're going to be watching the Andorian incident. John Weber suggested this one. This is the first appearance of our buddy Shran, who is the Andorian, who is a recurring character on this series, who would have become a regular had Enterprise gone to a 5th season. And I could definitely have seen that happening. Jeffrey, he's just a phenomenal actor, and he was even better as Shran. And this is a very compelling and interesting episode in its own right. Very early in the series, episode number 7, I believe, in season 1. So set a lot of the groundwork for the nature of Vulcans in this time frame and so forth.
Exactly. Yeah. We're still learning so much about how the Federation is going to be formed. And we've got this great series of revelations and introductions of characters and introductions of conflicts that we never knew about, and it is terrific. From my original watching of Enterprise, this was one of my favorites, and of course Jeffrey Combs. Come on.
Yes.
Come on, you gotta love Jeffrey Combs.
Now, I do want to clarify one aspect of the promo here. Yes, Shran wants to expose the Vulcans, but it doesn't mean he wants T'Pol to take her clothes off. So get your minds out of the gutter. Come on.
Well, he'd be the only one. Scott asked a very good question. Any other Voyager episodes you'd recommend after this one? Joe, you've got a really good background with Voyager. What's maybe your top 3?
My goodness. Well, hopefully I won't struggle too much with titles here, but it gets a lot of hate, unfortunately. But there is the 2-part episode called Year of Hell.
Yeah.
Which is extremely gut-wrenching. And the ending suffers a bit because this is a continuing series.
Yeah.
But until that point, it's a really fine episode, in my opinion. Great guest stars, great events there. I love Blink of an Eye, not to be confused with the original series, but Blink of an Eye, where they encounter a planet which is on a much accelerated flow of time from them.
Yeah, right.
And it handles so much better than Wink of an Eye back on the TOS. I could come up with others, but there's a lot of high. One thing I liked about Voyager is that they went back pretty much to the first couple of years of TNG in as much as they wanted to experiment a little bit. They were not as cautious because of the nature of the show, because they were marooned in the Delta Quadrant, to take some chances and come with some really nifty concepts. So that would give you a few to look at.
I generally find most of the first season not that much fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's lost in space.
Yeah.
The Kazon are introduced and they just kick Voyager's ass over and over and over. It kind of gets to be a drag. I actually, and speaking of controversy, I actually do prefer Scorpion parts 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then I really like the 7 of 9 episodes.
Well, yeah, because they always came with something great for it. I think they felt the need to justify the casting of Jerry Ryan. I mean, my goodness. I mean, obviously we joke about it because we're horny old guys. We know this, we admit it. But Jerry Ryan brought such life and vitality to that character, and they had some great episodes that featured her. Absolutely.
I'm going to go back to my original criticism that we were talking about, where I was saying there was too many of them. Here's my problem with Voyager. They introduced 2 different crews.
Mm-hmm.
One Voyager crew was trying to catch the McKean crew, which had Chakotay and Torres, and her name's not Torres, is it? Torres.
Yes, it is.
It is.
And
I mean, there were a lot of like Chakotay had Tuvok on his crew. He didn't realize that Tuvok was a spy for Janeway. There was so much conflict between the 2 crews, and some genius came along and said, we're not doing that anymore. It's one crew. And now you had too many people doing the same damn job. Half the lines that Chakotay would have said now go to Tuvok. You've got Tom and you've got Harry, and they're kind of friends, but they kind of know the same stuff, and they're not exactly 2 completely different characters. And then it just goes on. There's just so many characters that kind of do the same thing.
I know from personal experience that when you merge companies, the first thing they do is deal with the redundancies.
Yeah.
Which never really happened here. So I definitely see your point.
There are a lot of lines in this episode that are said by Chakotay or said by Tuvok. They're interchangeable. They're just pieces of, well, if that happens, then this will happen. This thing has happened. Therefore, we're in trouble. It's like anybody could have said that stuff. And I don't think the producers who stayed, Ronald D. Moore was kicked out. I don't think the guys who stayed had very fresh voices either, which makes a lot of sense. They brought in Joe Menosky because Joe Menosky is extremely fresh, and he is not a Brannon Braga or Mike Pillar. He is not just another one of these guys who works on Star Trek and that's their job. And, that to me was a problem with Voyager the whole time. They did not do enough unusual stuff, but they did unusual stuff. And that was good. That was a lot of fun. I love all the stuff about the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
about light-based characters. We find out that there are lots of life forms that are based on light. I love that. That's science fiction. Totally dig that. So, I would say any episode that has the Doctor at the center of it, that has 7 of 9 at the center of it, that has Janeway at the center of it, those tend to be really good episodes.
Well, we've already done a few of them on Retro Trekkers. I mean, most notably to me, not long ago, we looked at Living Witness, which is a Doctor-centric episode.
Right.
Highly unusual in its approach as far as an alternate history, as it were. And I think one reason that Voyager gets a lot of hate, because again, there are a number of fine episodes that are really good, but they took the conflict and just tossed it out immediately. So then it just became a lot of people considered to be like TNG light.
How do you get writers to stop doing that, Joe? One of the things I've always loved about your work is you will let the conflict rule. The conflict is the mountain, and everyone else must either conquer the mountain or give up. It's a mountain. You can't deal with it. And what do you do about writers that are like, I came up with a problem and a solution? Well, dude.
Well, that's great. And when things don't quite work or gel or mesh, if blame is the right word, there's blame to be spread around. I mean, a lot of the difficulties were writing problems. I think there was also studio and producers involved that just said, you know what, this is too far off the beaten track for a Trek show, which is exactly what it needed to be true, very successful.
Like literally, that's what they were trying to do. It was one of the first Trek shows to come out in years and years that had no relationship to the Federation. People love the Federation. I love the Federation. I want to see more of that world, but
what percentage of TOS episodes dealt with that directly? We didn't encounter Starfleet or the Federation every single week.
Right.
So again, this was Voyager was their chance to kind of take it out of our familiar environment and put them in unknown territory. Sometimes it worked. A lot of time it didn't, because they just jettisoned too soon a lot of what would have made that work really well.
Chris, who's a writer, says, I usually think of a solution, then invent a problem for it. Sense.
I definitely can relate to what Chris is saying. I totally get it.
And speaking of Black Vulcans, Scott said, I loved Black Vulcan on Superfans. Scott is making a reference to Peter David, who just passed away. I love Peter David. I
don't think he meant Starlet. I think he meant Starfleet.
Yeah, Starfleet. That's it. Starfleet Academy should have been a series. I remember seeing, I wish I could remember which one of the producers. I feel like it was Brandon Braga, who said, stop asking us to do Starfleet Academy. No one wants to see a show in which children are in danger every week. Hey, what's the next new series they're making for Star Trek, Joe?
Well, we can look forward to Star Trek Starfleet Academy, set in the 32nd century as a sequel series to Discovery. They wanted to do that clear back when they were trying to figure out Star Trek 6.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, Star Trek 6 was, for a minute, was going to be an origin story, just like we got in Star Trek 2009.
Interesting.
Of our familiar characters, set largely at Starfleet Academy. So you knew it was going to happen eventually, and it's going to. We'll see.
Well, look at us. We are at almost 19 minutes past the hour. We have done a long-ass episode here. No regrets. None
at all. I mean, we got a little bit into some Voyager concepts and effectiveness, and it was a great discussion by Captain, you and I, and of course our wonderful ensigns in the audience.
Absolutely. Let's talk about what's going to happen the rest of the week on the upcoming Thursday night show for Web of Mystery. Finally, to reveal it to the world, the Maltese Falcon episode of Lux Radio Theater featuring Sam Spade and the Maltese Falcon, and playing Sam Spade is not Humphrey Bogart. It is Edward G. Robinson. I've never heard it. I knew it was going to be good. I am very, very sure that it's going to be good. So we're going to have a great time listening to that.
Yes.
It is an hour-long episode. So again, I'm going to be keeping you up a little later. Sorry, fellas. Sorry, Raphael.
Well worth it. Well worth it.
And on Sunday, one of the weirdest things I ever watched as a child. Did you see this when it was first airing, Joe?
Oh, I'm sure I did, but I watched the first, watched bits of it just to get the idea for a promo graphic. And I said, man, I remember this being the Saturday Superstar movie, but this particular episode, no. So it could be largely new to me.
There's this moment. Joe and I were talking in private messages. I sent him the link for this, and he started watching it. And we were having a conversation about another show, and he kept saying things like, "Oh my God, that's weird. Oh, that's bizarre." And I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm reading your messages, but I'm also watching this." And he goes, "Olive oil in a bikini."
And it was like a string bikini in the show. I mean, the graphic here, you'll see it came from somewhere else where she's a little bit more covered. But God, when you in the little movie itself, like I'm looking at this, oh my God, there's a lot of skin going on there.
It was crazy. Scott said, "I watched anything with Flash Gordon and the Phantom." Me too, man. Defenders of Earth. Remember that cartoon? I don't think we could ever show that. But that was in the 80s. But this was in the 70s. This is like 1973 or 74, if I remember correctly.
I just remember really digging the Saturday Superstar movie because it was like, wow, this is my TV movie. This is my movie of the week.
Oh, good point. Good point. And they did have a bunch of stuff on there that was actually fun. There was a cartoon version of Oliver, which was a musical. And they wrote their own songs, which was wild. But I believe like the villain was played by, oh my gosh, Richard Dawson. Oh, dude, this is going to be fun. It's not going to be high quality, but it will be fun. Because it can be pretty.
Sometimes that's part of the fun,
Absolutely. As we are heading out of here, we of course want you to support your friends who are artists. Right now, Christopher Bach, our good friend Chris, has 4 books up for sale. You can check them out at lulu.com. Just search Christopher Bach, and these are the titles. They are fun books. I still have to get my copies. And Chris offered me free copies, and I was like, "No, sir. No. I didn't tell you this yet, Chris, but no. I'm paying, pal. We pay our
Chris offered me a free copy, and I said, yeah, send it. That's on my bookshelf right now.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. And of course, be sure to join Joe over joetownsell.com. The man with his own 2 talented hands, the man who makes the beats, has made that website, and it's fantastic. You should definitely check it out. Oh yeah, Scott says, "I loved the Sunday comics as a kid. I saved about 2 decades of them.
Wow.
Folks threw them out when I went to college." Dude, I used to have one of the biggest collections of the Mad paperbacks. Remember those?
Oh God, yes.
And my parents sold them at a yard sale. And I was like, I took years to collect all those. And my dad was like, "Yeah, some guy, $5 for the whole box."
I had them too, but I also sold it at a yard sale. I did it voluntarily, which I always regretted.
Oh,
because I mean, if you try to get any one of them now, they're like ridiculous on Amazon or wherever you find them, eBay.
really?
Oh, I had like Captain Klutz and all that great stuff.
Oh, I was in because of Don Martin, and then I just kept buying them.
Yes.
And then reading all the 60s stuff is like, oh, well, there's it's very funny to read the Mad Magazine version of like oh God, what was it? Frenzy by Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh,
Charade, which is a movie that Joe recently found that is public domain. We will be doing Charade at some point. All right. Raphael is he's signaling we should end the show.
well, hopefully we gave everybody, and especially our folks back east, a great nightmare to go to sleep with tonight.
I hope you enjoyed even just the fantastic beats, because I know that's all Raphael saw of this episode. Chris says, my mom threw out my Mads first edition Marvels like Spider-Man, Hulk, oh God, and signed baseball cards when I went into the Air Force. Oh Lord. Oh, so painful. So painful.
Treasures long gone, but never forgotten.
Yeah, Scott says they threw out my Sunday comics and my TV guides. I took my comics with me to school. Fortunately, I did too. That's my parents.
I thought only Frank Costanza collected TV guides.
Raphael says, "Good night, Mr. Kramer, wherever you are. We will definitely talk to Eric and find out how his day went. He has had a busy day, and I already said I forgot to put up the outro. Joe, quick, talk to the folks while I load this up.
Sure. As I said, we enjoyed very much the Thaw on Voyager, and I'll just do myself a shameless plug that like John hasn't already done it a couple times for me. But again, as we say on Joe Townsend's Dread Time Stories, I hope we've given you a nice nightmare to darken your dreams.
That'll do it. LLAP. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Fantastic. And Bruce. And yeah, the beats were next level. I'm gonna make Eric watch those beats.
Make him watch. Tie him down like Harry Kim.
Good night, everybody.
His pleasures unnamed, yes, it's Spider Hat. Sitting so pretty, way up on John's head. One move of his big spider arms, and brother, you're dead. Oh, Spider Hat, yes, it's Spider Hat. You can't escape his wrath. You're on his evil path. He's on you, his name